Hello and welcome to the Stronghold Digital Mining Daily Update. Today is Thursday, December 7th, 2023. I'm going to try to keep this broadcast relatively short. A couple of thoughts. So, on a day where we see that shares of Stronghold Digital Mining are down, something I like to do is I will look on my smartphone. I have a list of all of the major publicly traded Bitcoin mining companies, and I look to see if other companies are also trading down. The reason I like doing that is because then it helps differentiate a little bit between a situation that might have something specific to do with Stronghold Digital Mining and something that might simply be, algorithms deciding, okay, hey, you know what, the stocks have been up a bit, let's sell, so on and so forth, right? In other words, that it's something a little bit more generalized than something very specific to Stronghold Digital Mining. Like, I'd be concerned, very concerned, if practically every other company in the publicly traded Bitcoin mining, universe were up 10, 15, 20%, and we were somehow down 10%, right? That would be a little bit disconcerting because then you're like, hey, wait a minute, what's really going on? So that's the first thing. And upon doing that, I see that there are a number of our publicly traded Bitcoin mining peers that are down quite substantially today. I see one in particular here down nearly 10%. So, again, not all companies are down today, but there are enough that are down that suggests to me, you know what, it's just the market being the market. Okay, the next thing. I've been reviewing some of the awesome pieces of feedback that many of you have left via be it YouTube comments, as well as comments on Twitter/X. I do want to just address, Larry, thank you so much for your kind words. I think it's great that you're a certified public accountant. I think you can potentially bring a level of sort of like numerical discipline, right, to the analysis of Stronghold Digital Mining that certainly I can't bring. And I think your comment with regard to the perception of the company's debt, right, that maybe the market is kind of somewhat ambivalent as to whether or not the company's debt load is truly manageable or not, that may very well be holding the stock back a bit. And I think that your thoughts are quite, I think, on point. I do want to mention, yes, it can sometimes seem like I'm a cheerleader. Bear in mind, there are some very, very long-suffering co-owners, shareholders of this business. I certainly, it's not my self-imposed job to be a cheerleader of sorts, but I do think it's very good for morale when we take a moment to celebrate when the stock does reasonably well. I just checked earlier today. I think I've published something like 254 broadcasts. Maybe today's will be 255. That's a lot of, commentary regarding like one topic, which is Stronghold Digital Mining. And yeah, I do get into a lot of analysis, but I'm also mindful of the fact that, hey, when the stock's doing well, the overwhelming majority of people, right, who get involved with Stronghold Digital Mining, understandably are doing so because they want to see their investment go up in value. I mean, hey, look, we all do. So I do attempt to, be understandably joyous, right, when we see the stock doing well, and to, try to temper expectations because, again, I've never witnessed a sustainable, healthy bull run in equity prices or really in anything where, something just goes up consistently 20, 30% every single day into infinity. So, yes, you will see some cheerleading, but you definitely will see quite a bit of detail, not only on these broadcasts, but if you were to click on the link in the description to my, I guess, X/Twitter account, there can be, spots within there where I really kind of go into some incredible detail regarding my observations and what I think might be happening, at the company. So, what else? Listen, as I said, I do want to keep this broadcast relatively short. The stock is taking even more of a breather today. I chatted with a buddy of mine today. He's like, the truth is, man, people who may have gotten into this name just in the last couple of days and they're down a bit now, maybe this is their version of being initiated into the Stronghold Digital Mining brotherhood or sisterhood, or whatever you want to call it, because until you've sort of proverbially bled a little bit, right, insofar as it's like, dang man, it's like I'm down. Maybe it's hard to appreciate sort of the journey that so many of us in the owner's box have been on. Some of us more so than others. It's really been a pretty tough ride, right? And I've shared this in very, very ugly detail in a relatively recent broadcast, right? Where I talk about, hey, X amount of dollars invested on, IPO day, and, like, what's that worth today? And yeah, there's like a significant evaporation of value that has taken place. And there's no sugarcoating that, right? But ultimately, I think where we are right now as a business, from my perspective, is I think we're on very, very, very interesting footing. Dare I say even solid footing. I did take a look at hash prices. They've been really, really good. The price of Bitcoin itself has backed down a little bit. It's still over $43,000 a coin, but really the hash price has been at points today practically at 10 cents, which is phenomenal, like utterly phenomenal. I will later today be diving into the comments and responding and stuff like that. But so Larry, thank you again for your comment. And I do look forward. Hopefully you'll maintain some interest in Stronghold, and you could perhaps add, I think, again, some much needed perspective from the perspective of somebody who's really, really good with, the accounting and the math piece of this. Okay. So with all of that said, as always, let's just, hey, all we can do is be positive about this, right? Hey, there are going to be those who decide, you know what, I've had enough. I don't want to be in the owner's box anymore. Hey, I've always encouraged everybody to make that decision. You decide, hey, I want to be part of this name, or I don't. I want to see where this journey leads from here, or I don't. I'm tired. I'm done. I get that too. I really do. But for me, I need to see how this story ends. I need to see what's going to happen next. I'm looking forward very much to what's going to be revealed on Tuesday, December 12th, 2023. That is when Stronghold Digital Mining is hosting its analyst/investor day at the NASDAQ market site in New York City, New York. And I am very, very optimistic that we are going to get some just amazing news coming out of that event. Some very encouraging things coming out of that event. And I'm inclined to believe you might think the same thing, because needless to say, right, if you've been conducting field tests and the results are absolutely abysmal, I don't think you would then say, hey, let's have this event in New York City. Let's invite a bunch of analysts. Let's invite institutional investors. Let's sit them down, and then let's get up in front of them and tell them, hey, we've got some work to do. We're nowhere near where we thought we'd be. Hey, thanks for showing up. By the way, look under your seat. There's a little bag of beneficial use ash as a little party favor that we have decided to provide for you. Have a great day. Like, right? You see where I'm going with that? The final thing I will say is with regard to releasing, Bitcoin production numbers. I absolutely agree conceptually. I've said this before, right? I personally don't necessarily feel like I need to see like monthly Bitcoin production numbers. I do, however, acknowledge that this is what the market wants, right? Publicly traded Bitcoin mining companies, generally speaking, hey, they publish their monthly Bitcoin production numbers. What's that phrase? When in Rome, do as the Romans do, something like that. I think we probably would be better served to continue the tradition that we kind of restarted, right, earlier this year, where we decided, hey, you know what, let's put these numbers out there. Yes, people might judge or say, oh, that's not as much as this company or that company. I get it. But, to the extent that the market seems to want that, to the extent it helps Stronghold Digital Mining be included in some of these compilations that are put together in terms of like, hey, this is, here are all the publicly traded Bitcoin mining companies, and this is their Bitcoin production numbers. To the extent we can be included on some of those lists, I don't see that as necessarily being a bad thing. So again, let's see what happens. Let's see if by chance, this coming Tuesday, during the investor presentation, maybe there's going to be some commentary about Bitcoin production numbers. But I agree. I do agree that, listen, if we started doing this, it kind of makes sense to just continue doing it. If nothing else, it provides like a proof of life. I know this sounds kind of like silly sounding, but for people who really are there and they're like, man, like, is this company, well, what's going on? Is anybody there? Is anyone home? Like, again, I know the answer to that. But then again, like, I live in Pennsylvania, right? I could just kind of drive by and see, oh, look, there is the Panther Creek mine waste reclamation facility. I could see from the road, it's operational, right? Oh, okay, somebody's home. But if somebody doesn't have that ability, well, at least on a monthly basis, having a Bitcoin production number, it's an excuse to kind of get out there in front of the market and be like, hey, what's up? We're here. Here are some numbers. Whatever. This isn't a competition, to say, hey, can we produce more than somebody else? I've always said, we ultimately, I think, do best when we compete with ourselves, when we set goals and we then attempt to achieve and then perhaps even surpass those goals, right? Be really, really focused on our own metrics, on what we want to achieve and what we're attempting to do, and then to communicate that with the market. So yeah, bottom line, I agree. Okay, yes, you're right. We should be publishing these Bitcoin production numbers. It's just kind of like what the market wants. Okay, with all of that said, let's be positive, let's be great, and we'll see each other again tomorrow.